Hey everybody, Jason here from iAnimate. Hopefully you're all doing fantastic this week. So in this week's snippet, what we're going to try to do is run through a shot from concept all the way through to refinements. So when I'm working on a shot, whether it's on a feature film or a shot for myself, what I try to do is make it feel like it's from a feature film. So like trying to bring it up to that feature level quality, but also in concept. I want it to feel like it's actually from a movie. So like to give you the sense that there was a shot before this or a shot afterwards and give you something that you can actually sort of relate to, right? So like as a student, like you're building up a reel of animation that you've actually worked on to prove that you can animate in true 3D space, pushing the character around, making sure that the characters stay true to their emotions, and try to just not do walk cycles, right? Because we really want to see how your level of performance is on your characters. Okay, so what I like to do is obviously I like to do my 2D concept first, to allow my brain to kind of think about concepts, to think about composition, acting choices, all those kinds of things. I try to think about in my 2D, right? So, but nothing's nailed down, right? So it's just about getting the ideas flowing, right? Because for me, when I'm actually just drawing, there's something very freeing about it. Like there's something nice about just sort of like, okay, well, I can try this. And because I'm not drawing on model, I'm just drawing kind of scrappy rough. It allows me to play and not to be possessive over any ideas. Okay. So this will be my concept.
You shoot a gun here and there'll be pandemonium. All right, do you hear me? There'll be cops swarming all over this block.
You think so? Let's see. 1, 2.
And then, so from this, I immediately ran outside, like got my camera, put my earphones on, like play the loop again and again. And just so I could really feel what the character was going through. And I really wanted that feeling of like helplessness. Like he had the phone in his hand, but he didn't know where that guy was. With like in his mind, he's a sniper and he's got a gun, and you shoot a gun in here, there's going to be pandemonium, like there'll be cops swarming all over this place, right? So just making sure that this guy feels on edge and not just kind of standing in one spot. So like when I was over here, like I knew that he was going to be walking and he'd have to do a turnaround, like so we can get a reveal on his face. But I'm basically keeping him one spot here. But I knew once I turned on the camera, I would get all this sort of nervous energy, which I really needed for this shot. Okay. And I didn't necessarily have to do that in the actual 2D concept. It was more just to get the ideas flowing. Right. So the next stage, I would shoot live action reference from this, bring it into Maya as an image plane, and then start to work on my blocking. Now, because there's a lot of walking in here, what I wanted to do is for each step, it's sort of like footprints in the snow, right? So each step, I wanted to set a key, right? Just so I'd have that general timing from my live action reference. And I didn't want to stray from the timing yet because I don't want to be offset from any ideas that I've got in my live action reference. The retiming can happen later, okay? So this is our stepped blocking. Now, why is it in stepped? The stepped is really just because I want to be able to show the director or my supervisor and just the concepts, my concept from the live action reference and the 2D on the character, right? So I don't want to be distracted by any sort of drifty computer in between because it would be way too distracting. So it's in stepped blocking, right? So let's all look.
You shoot a gun here and there'll be pandemonium. All right, do you hear me? There'll be cops swarming all over this block.
You think so? Let's see. 1, 2.
Okay, great. And then from the next step, we're going to start to break down the mechanics. And that sort of includes like all the gestures and everything. So it starts to really come together in this breakdown stage. Like there's no facial, but even still, what I want to try to do is get a face on there to show his emotional state. So like anytime the director wants to see the shot in progress, I can show it without being, sort of like the neutral, no expression on there, right? So at any stage, I'd be able to show this and it would still be, from the foundation of that we've shown before, like our blocking, our 2D, a live action reference. So everything's building and you're getting those collaboration notes as well. So you're including any notes that you might get from anybody. Okay.
You shoot a gun here and there'll be pandemonium. All right, do you hear me? There'll be cops swarming all over this block.
You think so? Let's see. 1, Two.
Okay, so we're starting to get the steps in there. We're starting to get the feeling of him moving about, right? And now the next stage, now that we've got the body roughly on ones, it's all loosely in there, like there's no refinements yet. So what we're trying to do is just get the whole shot on one, so we can get a good feeling of what the live action looks like on this character. Okay, so next stage is facial, right? So get some lip sync in there. So again, in last week's snippet, what I showed you guys was, shooting facial just with a camera, right? So straight on, making sure that we get, the emotion of the character, making sure that you're shooting the live action reference so it's in sync, right? And staying true, like to the emotion, right? So not throwing in any smiles in there, like just for flexibility. You want to do that flexibility with the cheeks and the jaw, but not doing it with like the corners going up and down, right? You can bring the corners up, but make sure that they're orientated down to keep that emotion in there. Okay, so maybe more sneers rather than smiles, doing this, it sneers and then down like this to get the flexibility rather than putting in smiles, right?
You shoot a gun here and there'll be pandemonium. All right, do you hear me? There'll be cops swarming all over this block.
You think so? Let's see. One. Two.
Okay, so we're starting to get the idea now. We're starting to get the facial in there. Now, at the refinement stage is arguably one of the hardest things to do because, as an animator, like we're all blind to our own work, right? So what you're trying to do is give yourself a fresh eye, so what I try to do is bring my movie file, like my latest movie file there, shrink it down, right, to half size, and then bring it into Flipbook and then do some markups, right? Because now at this stage, every frame is as important as the next. It's not keys or breakdowns anymore. It's more about every frame. So if there's a frame in there that feels wonky or it's kind of given the animation a little kind of jittery motion, you want to just go in there and just start to smooth that stuff out to make sure that it feels like it's not losing its edge, but that it's not distracting. It doesn't feel like it's kind of jittering, right? So what I want to try to do then is just kind of go over markups, go through a frame by frame as if everything is a key, okay? There may not be a key in every single frame, but I'm treating all the keys and breakdowns and in-betweens as important as the next, right? Because everything's got to flow now. Everything's got to feel right. Now, one of the first things that I do after I do the markups is I actually offset the lip sync, like try to offset the lip sync just to see if it feels any better. Like even if I'm hitting a sound bang on, sometimes it can feel slightly late. So what I try to do is pick all the facial, drag it backwards 2 frames, and then see if it feels any better, it feels more natural, right?
You shoot a gun here and there'll be pandemonium. All right, do you hear me? There'll be cops swarming all over this block.
You think so? Let's see. One. Two. That won't.
All right, cool. So there's overlap, ears, hair, tail, all that stuff. But also like there might be like some areas in there that you want to push. Like, so like, maybe the expression on the ears, maybe it's like a fast transition type thing, right in here. Like I did this sort of like, if you're tracking with the nose, I did an arc going this way and then up to there rather than just going straight down and up. And it just gave it that little bit more spice to the action, took out some of the spacing so that the look up would be a little bit faster. So it hit that accent a little stronger, right? Some of the mouth shapes are pushed a little bit more, even though they're now offset by 2 frames, which felt better, felt more in sync than the last version, which was bang on sync, right?
All right, do you hear me? There'll be cops swarming all over this block.
You think so? Let's see.
And then some expressions, I wanted to push the expressions to see if I could make it feel like he's really kind of changed his expression here after he hears the off-screen voice go, okay, really? Well, let's see, So now he's fearful for his own life and for anybody who's in the block, right? So I wanted to get a little bit of wince in here, like bringing up the low lids, bringing up the wince, so that like when he does the take, that we actually go to a bigger eye shape like here, right? Rather than going from a wide eye shape to the blink to back to a wider eye shape, it wouldn't be as much of a change. So I want to get a bigger change up there, which made it feel a bit better, right? This is a stage where I might put in extra finger action, right? So like, in other words, like for this part right here, getting a little bit more drag in the fingers, get a little spread right here, and then let them follow through here, which gives it a little bit more of a follow through to the hand gesture, and it keeps those fingers alive, right?
There'll be pandemonium. All right, do you hear me? There'll be cops swarming all over this block.
You think so?